The small spaceship fell through Earth's sky like a dying star. Inside, Captain Jiho held the controls with all four of his hands. His blue skin had turned pale with fear. The ship shook and rattled. Metal screamed. Lights flashed red everywhere. Minji worked at the science station next to him. Her fingers moved fast across the broken screens. She tried to give more power to the engines, but nothing worked. Behind them, Daehyun and Hyejin held on tight to their seats. They knew what was coming. The ship hit the ground hard. Very hard. The impact threw everyone forward. Metal tore. Glass broke. The ship slid across the desert sand, leaving a long trail of destroyed parts behind it. When it finally stopped, everything went quiet. Jiho opened his eyes. He was still alive. He looked around the broken command room. Minji was breathing. Good. He heard sounds from the back. Daehyun and Hyejin were alive too. They had survived the crash. But for how long? Slowly, they got out of their seats. Hyejin held her lower left arm. It was broken. She made a painful sound but said nothing. They moved to the door and pushed it open. Hot air rushed in like fire. The sun burned their eyes. The desert stretched out in every direction. Sand and rocks. Nothing else. No water, no plants. No shade except from their broken ship. The Velkari people came from a world with lots of water and cool temperatures. This place was hell for them. Jiho checked his suit's computer. The temperature outside was 42 degrees. The air had almost no water in it. His throat already felt dry. The others coughed. Their bodies needed water, lots of it, and they needed it soon. They went back inside the ship. It was cooler there, but not much. Daehyun started checking what still worked. The main engine was dead. The communication system was broken. The emergency signal would not turn on. No one knew they were here. No one would come to save them. Minji found their water supply. She counted the bottles. Her face showed the bad news before she spoke. 3 days of water if they were very careful. Maybe 4 days if they barely moved. But they needed to work. They needed to build shelter. They needed to try to fix something. Jiho made a decision. They would use the ship's inside panels to make a shelter. They would try to save power from the solar cells. Daehyun would work on a weak signal, anything to call for help. It was not much of a plan, but it was all they had. They worked through the hot afternoon. Every movement made them more tired. Every breath felt like fire in their lungs. They pulled panels from the ship and set them up outside to make walls. The shelter was small and would not keep out much heat, but it was better than nothing. Daehyun worked on the electrical systems. His forearms moved quickly, connecting wires and checking circuits. He managed to get some solar panels working. Not many, but enough to give them a little power. He used it to send out a signal. It was weak and did not go far, but it was something. As the sun went down, the temperature dropped. This should have been good, but now it got cold. Too cold. The Velkari needed the temperature to stay steady. Hot was bad. Cold was bad. They had no way to control it. They sat together in their small shelter. Hyejin's broken arm hurt badly, but they had no medicine left. Minji gave everyone a small amount of water. They drank it slowly, trying to make it last. It was not enough. Their bodies needed more. Jiho knew the truth. They all knew it. Without more water, they would die in less than a week. The heat would kill them. The dry air would kill them. This planet was killing them slowly. Hyejin tried to keep everyone's spirits up. She told stories about their home world, about the blue oceans and the cool rain, about their families waiting for them. But her voice was weak. They all knew these might be the last stories they ever heard. The night got darker. Stars appeared in the sky. Beautiful stars. On any other night, they would have enjoyed seeing them. But tonight, they just reminded everyone how far from home they were, how alone they were. Daehyun's signal kept sending. It went out into the empty desert. Maybe someone would hear it. Maybe someone would come. But probably not. This planet had intelligent life, they knew that. But the Galactic Council had rules. No one was supposed to contact a planet like this. No one was supposed to help. They had broken the rules just by being here. Their ship had failed near this world. They should have destroyed everything and died with honor. That was the law. But when the moment came, when death was right there, they chose to live. They chose to crash and hope. Now they would die anyway. Just slower. More painful. Was this better? Jiho did not know. He looked at his crew. At Minji, who had followed him for 10 years. At Daehyun, the best engineer he had ever known. Atiejan, who took care of everyone. They trusted him. He had led them here. He had chosen to crash instead of die. The second night was worse than the first. They were all weaker now. The small amount of water they drank did not help enough. Their skin felt wrong. Their eyes hurt. Their bodies were shutting down bit by bit. When morning came, the sun felt like a hammer. The heat rose fast. They stayed in the shelter and did not move. Every movement used energy they did not have. Every breath used water they could not spare. Minji did the math. With the water they had left and the heat they faced, they had maybe 3 more days. 4 if they were lucky. Then it would be over. They would die here in this terrible desert, far from home, far from anyone who cared. But Daehyun's signal kept sending. It kept going out into the empty land. Someone might hear it. Someone might come. It was a tiny hope. Almost no hope at all. But it was all they had left. The desert did not care about hope. The desert did not care about anything. It just sat there hot and dry and deadly. The broken spaceship sat in the middle of it. 4 aliens sat in a small shelter, and the sun burned down on all of them without mercy. 30 miles away, a man drove his old truck through the desert. His name was Minho Park. He was 42 years old and did not talk to people much anymore. He liked the desert. It was quiet. It did not ask questions. It did not want anything from him. Minho was an engineer. He built water systems. For 15 years, he had traveled to dry places around the world. He knew how to find water where others saw only sand. He knew how to make that water flow. It was good work. Important work. It kept him busy and away from his old life. He had been married once. He had 2 children. They were grown now. He rarely saw them. After the divorce, he threw himself into his work. The desert became his home. His truck became his house. The only relationships he had were with pipes and pumps and soil samples. On the 3rd day after the alien crash, Minho was checking his equipment. His radio was on. He listened to it while he worked. Suddenly he heard something strange. A signal, not on any normal frequency. The pattern was wrong. It was not random. Someone was sending it on purpose. Minho stopped working. He listened carefully. The signal was weak but clear. It came from the east, maybe 20 miles away. He had good equipment. He could find exactly where it came from. He should have called someone. The military. The government. Someone official. But Minho had learned not to trust official people. They made things complicated. They asked too many questions. He decided to look himself first. He drove toward the signal. The desert road was rough. His truck bounced and shook. After an hour, he saw something in the distance, metal, shining in the sun. He stopped the truck and got out his binoculars. What he saw made him freeze. A crashed ship, not like any plane he knew, and near it a small shelter. Through the binoculars he saw movement. Figures, but they were not human. They had 4 arms, blue skin. They moved slowly, like they were sick. Minho watched for an hour. His engineer mind worked. The beings were intelligent. They had built a shelter. They had solar panels set up. But something was very wrong. They barely moved. They stayed in the shade. They were dying. He could see it. He thought about his choices. He could leave. Drive away. Call the military. Let them handle it. But he knew what would happen. By the time anyone arrived, these beings would be dead. Or the military would take them away. Put them in some facility. Maybe that would kill them too. Minho looked at the desert around them, hot, dry, no water anywhere. He understood the problem immediately. These beings needed water. A lot of water. They were dying of thirst. And he was a man who found water in deserts. This was what he did. He made a decision that surprised even himself. He would help them. He did not know why. Maybe because he was tired of being alone. Maybe because this was the biggest challenge he had ever seen. Maybe because leaving them to die felt wrong. He went back to his truck. He had water bottles. Many of them. He loaded as many as he could carry into a bag. Then he drove slowly toward the crash site. He stopped about 50 meters away from the shelter. He got out of his truck. He raised his hands to show he had no weapons. Then he walked forward slowly. Very slowly. He kept his hands up. Inside the shelter, he knew they were watching him. Were they afraid? Probably. He would be afraid too. Jiho saw the human approach. His first thought was fear, then hope, then fear again. What did this creature want? Would it hurt them? They had no weapons, no way to defend themselves. If this human wanted to kill them, they could not stop it. But the human stopped. It kneeled down. It took bottles from its bag and pushed them forward on the ground. Then it stepped back and waited. Minji looked at Jiho. He nodded. She was the strongest right now. She could move the best. She crawled forward slowly. Her body hurt with every movement. She reached the bottles and picked one up. She could feel the liquid inside. She could smell it through the container. Water. Pure water. She looked back at the human. It just stood there, waiting. She opened the bottle and drank. The water hit her dry throat like medicine. Her body absorbed it desperately. She felt a tiny bit stronger immediately. She grabbed the other bottles and brought them back to the shelter. The 4 aliens drank. They drank carefully, not too fast, but they drank. Minho watched them. He understood now. They were dying of dehydration. The water he brought would help, but only for a day or two. They needed much more. They needed a constant supply. He sat down on the ground. He was still far from them, but closer now. He took out his notebook and started drawing in the dirt with a stick. He drew water. He drew pipes. He drew a well. He was trying to tell them something. He could help them. He could find water. Daehyun understood first. He had been an engineer all his life. He knew what the human was showing them. A water system. The human was offering to build them a water system. Here, in this desert. He grabbed his damaged tablet. It still worked a little. He pulled up images. Pictures of water. Pictures of their ship. Pictures showing how much water they needed. He held the tablet out toward the human. Minho looked at the images. He understood. They needed a lot, more than he could carry in his truck. They needed it every day, for a long time, months maybe, until someone came to rescue them. His mind started working. There was an aquifer in this area. He knew because he had surveyed this region. Deep, 60 meters down, maybe more. But it was there, big, plenty of water. He could drill down to it. He could set up pumps, solar power, storage tanks, a distribution system. It would be hard work. Very hard. He would need more equipment. He would have to go to town, buy supplies, come back, work in this terrible heat. But he could do it. He had done harder things. Not much harder, but he could do this. He pointed to himself, then to his truck. Then he made a digging motion. Then he pointed back at them. He was trying to say he would go and come back. He would bring equipment. He would help. Jiho watched the human. He did not understand the language. He did not know the customs of this species, but he understood the meaning. This creature was offering help. A stranger, from a world they should never have contacted, offering to help them survive. Minho stood up. He went back to his truck. He returned with more water bottles. He left them near the shelter. Then he got in his truck and drove away. Inside the shelter, the 4 Velkari looked at each other. They had just met an alien. It had given them water. It had promised to come back. They did not know if they could trust it, but they did not have a choice. They had water for maybe 2 more days now. If the human came back, they might live. If it did not, they would die. It was that simple. Heejin spoke first. She said the human had kind eyes. Minji agreed. Daehyun was excited. He had seen the human's drawings. He understood engineering. This human knew what it was doing. Jiho said nothing. He just hoped they had made the right choice by trusting a complete stranger from an alien world. Minho came back the next morning. His truck was loaded with equipment. Heavy equipment. He had driven to the nearest town, a small place called Dry Springs. He told the hardware store owner he was expanding his water project. It was not really a lie. He brought drilling equipment, long pipes, a pump, solar panels, lots of solar panels, storage tanks, tools. Everything he would need to dig deep and bring up water from far below the ground. The Velkari watched him unload. They did not fully understand what he was doing, but they could see he was serious. Minho spent the first day surveying. He walked around with strange devices. He looked at screens. He took notes. Daehyun followed him, fascinated. Even weak and sick, the alien engineer wanted to understand. Minho showed him the equipment. He pointed at the ground. He was looking for something under the sand. By afternoon, Minho found what he needed. He smiled. There was water down there. A big underground river system, very deep, 60 meters, maybe more. But it was there. And it was huge. Enough water for 100 aliens. Enough water for years. He drew pictures for Daehyun. A hole in the ground. A pipe going down. A pump bringing water up. Solar panels giving power to the pump. Tanks storing the water. Pipes carrying it to the shelter. Daehyun understood. His eyes went wide. This human was going to dig 60 meters down in this terrible heat. For them. For strangers. The next day, Minho started drilling. The machine was loud, it shook. The drill bit turned and turned, digging into the hard ground. Minho worked in the sun. The heat was brutal. Sweat poured down his face, but he kept working. Hour after hour, pushing the drill deeper, Daehyun tried to help. Even though he was weak, he used his forearms to hold tools, to pass equipment, to steady things. Minho was glad for the help. The alien learned fast. They could not talk with words, but they talked with gestures and actions. 2 engineers working together. The work was slow. The ground was harder than Minho expected. Rocky. The drill bit heated up. He had to stop often to let it cool. The Valkyrie gave him water from the bottles he had brought. He drank and went back to work. 3 days passed. Then 4. They were 40 meters down, getting close. But the drill was struggling. The rock was getting harder. Minho pushed the equipment. It groaned and complained. Then on the 4th day, disaster struck. The drill bit hit something extremely hard. Granite. Very hard granite. There was a terrible grinding sound. Then a crack. The drill bit broke. Minho pulled it up and stared at the broken metal. This was bad. Very bad. He did not have another drill bit. He would have to go back to town. Maybe even to the city. Order one. Wait for it to arrive. That could take days. Maybe a week. He looked at the Valkyrie. They were weaker again. The water he brought was running out. They did not have a week. That night, Minho sat in the shelter with them. He shared his food. They could not eat much of it, but they tried. The mood was dark. Everyone knew they had a problem. Minho felt like he had failed them. He had promised to help. Now he could not, but Daehyun had an idea. He went to the crashed ship. He came back carrying a strange device. It was a generator from the ship, part of their hull protection system. It created a kind of energy field. Daehyun showed it to Minho. Through gestures and drawings, Daehyun explained. This device made a high-frequency energy field. It was designed to break up small space rocks before they hit the ship. Maybe it could break up the hard rock in the drill hole. Maybe they could use it as a cutting tool. Minho looked at the alien device. He did not understand how it worked, but he understood what Daehyun was suggesting. Adapt it. Connect it to the drill. Use alien technology to solve a human problem. It was crazy. It might not work, but it was worth trying. They worked on it for 2 days. Minho and Daehyun, the human and the alien. They connected wires. They tested circuits. Minho provided the practical knowledge. Daehyun provided the advanced physics. Together they created something new, something that had never existed before. When they were ready, Minho lowered the modified drill into the hole. He connected power from his generator and from the alien power cells. He turned it on. The device hummed. Then it sang. A high, strange sound. He pushed it against the hard granite. The granite melted. Not really melted, but the energy field broke it apart so fast it looked like melting. The drill pushed through. 20 meters more, 30, 40. All the way through the hard layer. Into softer rock below. Closer to the water. On the 2nd day with the new drill, they reached the aquifer. Minho knew it immediately. The drill pulled up wet. Water came with it. He looked at Daehyun. The alien looked back. For the first time, they both smiled. Really smiled. They had done it. Minji tested the water with the ship's equipment. She ran every test she could. The water was clean, pure, perfect for drinking. And there was a lot of it. The aquifer was massive. More water than they could ever use. More water than they had dreamed of. But the work was not done. Now Minho had to build the rest of the system. He installed the pump deep in the hole. He connected it to the solar panels. He set up the storage tanks near the shelter. He ran pipes from the well to the tanks, from the tanks to distribution points. He built everything with backups. 2 pumps, extra solar panels, multiple pipes. He wanted the system to work even if something broke. even if he was not there to fix it. These aliens needed water every day. The system had to be reliable. It had to be perfect. He added filters. He added monitoring equipment. He set it up so he could check the system from his laptop even from far away. He would get an alert if anything went wrong. He would know if they needed help. After 2 more days, everything was ready. Minho walked to the control box. The 4 Valkyrie stood with him, even Hyjin with her healing arm. They all watched as Minho flipped the switch. The pump started. Deep underground, it pulled water from the aquifer. The water rushed up through the pipes, into the storage tanks. The tanks filled. Then water came out of the distribution tap, clear, cool, perfect. Jiho caught the water in a cup. He drank, the others drank. They drank and drank. All they wanted, as much as they needed. For the first time since the crash, they had enough. More than enough. They had a future. The change in them was amazing. Over the next few days, their color came back. Their movements got stronger. Hyjin's arm healed faster. They stopped looking like they were dying. They started looking like they might actually survive. Minho watched them recover. He felt something he had not felt in a long time. Pride. Not just in his work, but in doing something truly good. He had saved lives. 4 lives. 4 alien lives that no one else even knew existed. On the evening when the system was fully working, they all sat together by the water tap. The sun was setting. The desert was cooling. Water flowed from the tap into a small pool Minho had built. The sound of running water was beautiful in that dry place. Daehyun put one of his 4 hands on Minho's shoulder. No words, just that touch. But Minho understood. Thank you. Thank you for not driving away. Thank you for helping. Thank you for caring about strangers. Thank you for this miracle in the desert. 3 weeks after the water system started working, everything changed. Minho got a message from an old friend. She worked with the government. She knew about military things. Her message was short and worried. Strange activity near your survey area. Be careful, Minho understood immediately. Someone had noticed something. Maybe a satellite saw the solar panels. Maybe someone detected the energy from the modified drill. Maybe they saw his truck going back and forth. Whatever it was, time was running out. He drove to the crash site fast. Over the weeks, he and Daehyun had built a better communication system. They combined translation software with pictures and gestures. It was not perfect, but they could share complicated ideas now. Minho told them the danger. The military was coming. The Valkyrie were afraid. They had no weapons. They could not fight. If the human military wanted to take them, they could not stop it. Jiho asked Minho what would happen to them. Minho did not know. Maybe study, maybe prison, maybe something worse. He honestly did not know. That night, Jiho and Minho talked for a long time. Daehyun had fixed the universal translator. It worked better now. The conversation was slow, but they could really talk. Jiho told Minho the whole truth about their mission and their laws. They had been studying Earth from far away. Their ship broke. They should have destroyed it and themselves. That was the law. Contact with a developing civilization was forbidden, but they chose to live. They crashed and hoped someone would rescue them. They broke their own most important law. Jiho thanked Minho. He said Minho had saved their lives. But he worried about what would happen next. First contact was supposed to be careful, planned, with lots of preparation. Instead, Minho had created a messy situation. No one knew what would happen now. It could be bad for both their species. Minho disagreed. He said ethics was not about following rules. It was about doing what was right. He had seen beings dying. He had the skill to help them. Should he have let them die just to follow some rule? He did not think so. He would make the same choice again. 2 days later, the military arrived. 5 big vehicles, soldiers, scientists, people in suits. They surrounded the crash site. Minho was there when they came. He had refused to leave. If the Valkyrie had to face this, he would face it with them. A colonel got out of the first vehicle. His name was Patterson. He was angry. He told Minho he had broken many laws. Contact with alien life, not reporting it, hiding it from the government. These were serious crimes. The aliens would be taken into custody. Minho would be arrested, but Minho had prepared for this. He had documented everything. Every day, photos, videos, notes, the crash, the dying aliens, his decision to help, the water system, everything. He had sent copies to friends, to reporters, To lawyers. If anything happened to him or the Valkyrie, those people would release everything. The world would know it was a risk. A big one. But it gave him leverage. Patterson could not just take the aliens and make them disappear. Too many people knew now. The story would get out. There would be questions, problems, bad publicity. A woman came forward. Her name was Dr. Yuna Kim. She was a scientist. She studied alien life, or she would if there was any to study. This was her dream come true. But more than that, she was smart. She understood what had happened here. She examined the water system. She was amazed. The combination of human and alien technology. The practical solution to an impossible problem. She talked to Minho. She understood him, an engineer who saw a problem and fixed it. That's simple. That beautiful Dr. Kim talked to Colonel Patterson. She told him the Valkyrie were not dangerous. They were scientists, explorers. They had bad luck. They crashed. They would have died without help. Minho had done something amazing, something that could change everything. This was first contact, real first contact. It did not have to be hostile. It did not have to be about weapons and fear. It could be about cooperation, about helping each other, about learning. This was a chance, a huge chance. They should not waste it. Jiho spoke to them through the translator. He offered a deal. The Valkyrie would cooperate fully. They would share their knowledge. They would answer questions. They would help however they could. But they asked to stay at the crash site, with the water system that kept them alive, until their rescue ship came. About 4 months, they estimated. Patterson talked to his superiors. Many phone calls. Many discussions. Finally, he agreed. The site would be secured, guarded, monitored, but the Valkyrie could stay. Scientists would come to work with them, to learn from them, and Minho would not be arrested. In fact, they wanted him to stay too, to help with communication, to help the Valkyrie stay comfortable. Over the next weeks, the crash site changed. Tents were set up. Equipment was brought in. Scientists arrived, linguists, engineers, biologists, doctors, all wanting to meet the Valkyrie, all wanting to learn. The Valkyrie shared their knowledge, physics, biology, engineering, medicine. The human scientists were amazed. Some of the Valkyrie technology was centuries ahead. Some of it was just different, built on different principles. Both species learned from each other. Daehyun and Minho kept working together. Now they had more resources, better tools. They improved the water system, made it even more efficient. They designed new things together. Human practicality and alien advanced knowledge. It was a powerful combination. The water system became famous. Scientists studied it, not just what it did, but what it represented. A human had seen aliens in trouble and helped them. Not for money, not for technology, not for any reward, just because it was the right thing to do. That meant something. Dr. Kim spent a lot of time at the site. She and Minho became friends. She understood him. Understood that he had spent years alone because people were complicated. But when he saw the aliens dying, he did not think about complications. He just helped. That was who he really was. The Valkyrie recovered completely. With unlimited water and help from human doctors, they healed. Heejin's arm was as good as new. They all looked healthy again. Their color was bright. They moved with energy. They had stopped looking like they might die at any moment. Sometimes, late at night, Minho would sit by the water system and just watch it run. The pump hummed. Water flowed. The solar panels soaked up moonlight. The system worked perfectly. No human watched it. No alien tended it. It just ran, automatic, reliable, keeping 4 beings alive without any effort. That was good engineering. But it was more than that. It was proof that beings from different worlds could work together, could help each other, could create something better than either could make alone. The water system was not just pipes and pumps. It was a symbol. Hope made solid. The 4 months would pass. The rescue ship would come. The Valkyrie would leave, but the water system would stay, running in the desert waiting, a monument to what happened here, a reminder that kindness and skill could change everything. 4 months passed quickly. The rescue ship arrived exactly on time. It was called the Harmonious Journey. It was beautiful, huge. It hung in the sky above the desert like a second moon. The Valkyrie saw it first and started crying. Happy tears. They were going home. The crash site had changed a lot. Now it was called Contact Site Alpha. There were buildings, labs, meeting rooms. Dozens of human scientists worked there every day. They had learned so much from the Velkari, and the Velkari had learned from them. It had been a good 4 months. A ceremony was planned. Important people came from many countries. The Velkari rescue team came down from the ship, and through a hologram, members of the Galactic Council appeared. These were the leaders of many alien species. They wanted to meet the humans. They wanted to see what had happened here. Captain Jiho gave a speech. He spoke in Velkari. The translation played in English. He told the story of the crash, of dying in the desert, of the human who came with water, of Minho who built the system that saved their lives. He talked about courage and kindness, about seeing beings in need and choosing to help. Jiho said something important. The Galactic Council did not care about technology. Every species developed technology eventually. They did not care about military power. War was easy. What the Council looked for was ethics, compassion, the choice to help others even when it was hard. Even when there was no reward, Minho had shown that humanity had those qualities. He did not help because he would get something back. He did not even know if the Velkari would survive. He helped because he could, because leaving them to die felt wrong. That choice, Jiho said, proved humanity was ready to join the galactic community. After the ceremony, Minho had private time with each of the Velkari. Minji thanked him for giving them hope when they had none. She said she would tell her children about the human who saved her. She would make sure they never forgot. Yejin showed him her healed arm. She moved it perfectly. No pain, no problems. She did a traditional Velkari gesture of respect. It involved all 4 arms moving in a specific pattern. It was beautiful. Minho felt honored to see it. Daehyun gave Minho a gift, a small crystal. It contained all the Velkari engineering knowledge they could share. Designs, theories, techniques. It was worth more than any amount of money. It was priceless. Daehyun said they were brothers now. Brothers in engineering. Distance did not matter. That bond would last forever. Jiho's goodbye was the hardest. The Velkari captain hugged Minho. It was awkward with 4 arms, but it was genuine. Jiho said Minho had taught them something. That ethics was not about rules and laws. It was about choices made in the moment, about doing what was right even when it was difficult. Then Jiho told Minho something amazing. The Galactic Council had been watching. They were impressed. Very impressed. They had decided to accelerate Earth's contact schedule. In maybe 10 years, humans would be invited to join the galactic community as full members. Minho had not just saved 4 lives. He had changed the future of his entire species. The Velkari boarded a shuttle. It lifted off and flew to the big ship above. The humans watched it go. Many of them had tears in their eyes. They had made friends. Real friends. From another world. And now those friends were leaving. Minho stood by the water system. The pump still hummed. Water still flowed. The solar panel still collected energy. The system worked perfectly. It did not need the Velkari anymore. But it would keep running. A reminder of what happened here. Dr. Yuna Kim came to stand beside him. She had news. She had been chosen as Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council. It was a huge responsibility. She would represent all of humanity. She asked Minho if he would help her. Join her team. Use his skills to build bridges between species. Minho thought about it. A few months ago he was alone, divorced, distant from his children. His only relationship was with his work. Now he had a chance to do something important. To help guide humanity into a larger universe. To use his skills in ways he never imagined. He said yes. Of course he said yes. This was what he was meant to do. Not just build water systems, but build connections. Between people. Between species. Between worlds. He had learned something from the Velkari. He did not have to be alone. He could let people in. He could trust again. 3 years later, the site looked different again. It was now a museum and memorial. The crashed ship had been preserved exactly as it was. The water system still ran. Thousands of people visited every year. They came to see where it happened. Where humanity met another species for the first time. A monument stood next to the main water tank. It showed 2 figures working together. One human. One Velkari. They were connecting a pipe. Working as a team. The inscription was in English and Velkari. It said, "In the face of impossible challenges, Compassion and cooperation create miracles. School groups came. Children pressed a button and watched a hologram. It showed the whole story. The crash. The struggle. Mio arriving. Building the water system. The friendship that formed. The rescue. Everything. The children learned that technology was not just about machines. It was about using those machines to help others. Visitors could drink from the system. The water tasted normal, just like any other water. But people said it tasted special. Because they knew its story. Because they knew what it represented. It was not just water. It was hope. It was proof that different beings could work together, could help each other survive. Sometimes Minho visited. He was Ambassador Park now, important, busy. He traveled to other worlds, met other species, helped with trade agreements and cultural exchanges, but he always came back to the desert, to the water system, to where it all started. He would stand there and watch the water flow, remember 4 desperate aliens, remember the choice he made. He knew it was the right choice. Not because of what came after, not because he became important, but because it was right in that moment. Beings needed help. He could help, so he did. The Velkari sent messages sometimes. Jiho, Minji, Daehyun, Yejin. They told him about their lives, their families. They asked about his work. They stayed in touch. Real friends across the stars. The distance did not matter. The bond was real. Minho's children visited him more now. They were proud of what he had done. His son wanted to be an engineer like him. His daughter wanted to be an ambassador like Dr. Kim. They had family dinners. They talked. They laughed. Minho had let them back into his life. He was not alone anymore. The water system kept running, day after day, year after year. It needed almost no maintenance. Just like Minho designed it. The pump hummed. The panels collected energy. Water flowed through the pipes, perfect, reliable, tireless. It was more than a machine. It was a teacher. It taught people that the best technology was not the most advanced or the most powerful. The best technology was the kind that helped others. That made life better. That saved lives. On the 10-year anniversary, Earth was formally invited to join the Galactic Council. Representatives from 100 species came. They held the ceremony at Contact Site Alpha, at the place where humanity proved it was ready, where a human engineer saw aliens dying and built them a miracle. The Velkari crew came back for the ceremony. Older now, but still the same. They stood with Minho by the water system, the system that saved them, the system that changed everything. They watched as Earth took its place among the stars. Jiho made another speech. He said humanity was special, not because humans were stronger or smarter, but because they cared. They saw problems and fixed them. They saw suffering and stopped it. They saw strangers and made them friends. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. As the ceremony ended, Minho looked around. At the people. At the aliens. At the water still flowing from his system. He thought about that day in the desert. When he saw the crashed ship. When he made the choice to help instead of walking away. One choice. One person. Changing everything, the water flowed. The pump hummed. The sun shone on the desert. And in that moment, everything was exactly as it should be. Simple, basic, perfect. Water giving life. Kindness creating hope. Humans reaching for the stars, one good choice at a time.